Tyler, we got a comic book.
Okay.
I found it in my pocket. It's called Punisher.
I'm really, really sorry about the song.
Well, you fucking, you sound like you're Kurt Cobain before he's about to fucking play a song.
Did
We're really
you
sorry
get
about this
sticky
song.
shit on my comic book?
What are you
is
talking
going
about?
on? Feel the top of that. What is that? I don't know. It didn't come out of the. What is on? What is that?
What's sticky
On the
shit?
thing, on the
don't know what
board.
that is.
What is that?
I don't know how that got.
Well, give it over here.
I'll
Give me the
fix
book.
it.
I don't care. I'm not that pissed about it. Give me the book.
I am.
Give me the book. Or do you need to look at it again?
Well,
Punisher.
I could start with the book. It's
Yeah.
Punisher number 7.
Number 7.
I read this earlier today.
God, enough singing already. Talking to me.
Yeah.
I was telling myself.
Jason
enough.
Aaron writing this one.
And this is
remember.
book 2, part 1, right?
Book 2, chapter 1, King of Killers, Punisher number 7.
Punisher number 7. I'm Regis Philbin.
And this audiobook is read by Christopher Walken.
Wow. That was not very good.
Yeah, shut your
You can do a better one.
So the book starts. This is when, excuse me. This is when you were telling me this whole time, like, just wait until the book switches perspectives to Maria.
It's mostly
Maria.
the thing up till this issue. It really, the one thing is you really don't see it from Frank's point of view so far, and you're seeing it from the priestess's point of view, or from Maria's point of view, or from, it's those two points of view. You really are not seeing any of this story through Frank's eyes, not really. And that's kind of on purpose, because we're deconstructing the Punisher. We've fucking seen the story through his eyes enough. So, continue.
Yeah,
sorry.
but she says the book literally starts with him, the silhouette of him, like with red smoke coming around, making horns, and he just looks like the devil.
Mm.
But it's always the same dream. I open the door and there's the devil. You'd think I'd scream, but I never do. I let him in, introduce him to the children, serve him dinner. I take him into bed, into my arms. I tell him I love him. And then she talks about, like, when they make love, he calls himself the Beast, and she's having these weird dreams, and she's had it ever since Frank left.
Mm.
And then it's juxtaposition of, like, what's happening currently, where Daredevil shows up and is like, okay, man, this is fucked up even for you.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
And hey, I don't know if you know this, but I did run the hand at one point. It's not a good idea. They're just going to use you like they used me. And then
they have a great old fight, but I love how the fight ends.
well, yeah, when Matt knows how to goad him because he's known Frank forever.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, is that your reanimated wife in there? Let's see what she thinks about all this shit. And then he has a moment where he activates the Beast and his eyes turn red and he's like, stay away from my wife. And then they have a fight and that's when Matt was like, oh, you really believe this shit. But before that, this bit, I took a picture of it, I posted it on Instagram. This page, when in the middle of the fight, we have another flashback where Frank comes home and, like a lot of Army veterans and people that served and went to war, he's kind of having trouble adjusting back to regular life. He was sleeping out in a tent in the backyard.
Oh, is that when she comes home and she thinks the worst has happened, but they're all sleeping in the tent?
Well, it's just the thing where she says, like, he didn't come back home. His one true love was war. And he was grieving the loss of his one true love. So we're starting to plant the seeds in this story of saying even Maria sees that, oh, this, like, Frank isn't normal. It's after that.
Yeah, it's right there where, like, and then she's...
But then the next few pages, she's worried, doesn't know where the kids are, the place is a mess.
And she says, like, of course I'm worried.
I left him alone.
Of the man
Yeah.
But then, and then we get to Frank and Daredevil just kicking each other's ass. But I love, there's a point, where
it's
fucking
at the end of the fight. You're going backwards.
Oh,
are you talking about
after the exorcism?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So Matt, that
Matt
to me
knows,
is awesome.
Matt knows that
his Daredevil's like
so
trying
once,
to exorcise the Punisher.
So once his eyes go red, Daredevil's like, "Oh shit, you've actually accepted the beast." I know because this happened to me. So I talked to Doctor Strange. He taught me how to do an exorcism spell. Yeah. And so he burns a cross on his.
I hope the
head.
hell this hurts, you fucking piece of shit.
But yeah, they have a whole exorcism, and it doesn't work.
It talks about when Frank goes to confession, right?
And they talked about how it goes confession because Frank is turning a corner. He's being more active at home. He held her tight. He tried to tell her about when he killed that guy, but he couldn't quite do it. And that's when she starts to understand, he never left a war. He's always had a war, and he's always had these chains, which I know the last cover of this book, and I was like, ooh, we're setting it up here, where she talks about the chains that are on him, and he keeps slowly taking the chains off, and the last cover, he's literally in chains and there's blood and everything. But the whole back, and then that confession where he probably did tell him of all the people he's killed, and
or just the thoughts he was having,
and when he's walking out of the fucking confessional out of the church, when they get kicked out of this church, it's so bad that she gets kicked out of the church and they never want to see him again. And as he's leaving, we see all these dead bodies, and some of them we've already seen, and then others of are these people that he did in the future? Are these people that he's done to a war? We don't know, but we just know okay, we're just
bodies.
We keep going with the story of no, he's just a murdering sociopath. That's just who he is. And we just for years we've just justified that because his wife and kids, and then this story is saying he was always going to be this way,
or that he's always going to, or that all the guys that he's killing are bad guys. And you try and justify that shit, and you can't.
And this so brilliantly spins and turns it on its head, this mythos of the death wish storyline of a vengeful father killing bad guys.
Well, that's where we see that revenge has no end. It doesn't end.
Because
it doesn't satisfy
violence and vengeance never solves anything, and it continues a cycle. It never breaks a cycle.
So Frank Castle becomes the Punisher. He goes and kills everybody responsible for his family's death.
But he never stops. He never stops.
Right.
He's a mass murderer.
If he really was taking revenge for his family, he would have killed those guys and been done with it. But no, he got a taste for it. But here we're learning that he's had a taste for it for a long time, way before he went to Vietnam. Previously in the Punisher mythos, he unlocked that part of himself when he went to war in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it's never really been explored.
Mm-hmm.
It was always kind of looked at as, well, of course he had a happy family with Maria and the kids or whatever.
So after the exorcism, it doesn't work, and Matt is must have maybe said a wrong word, but we'll keep working at it.
Yeah.
And then also I want to point out before this, Daredevil was beating the shit out of Frank, which again shows you the level of fighters these two are. And
you know what I liken it to as a recovering alcoholic. What I liken it to is a lot of times when I was still using and stuff, you want to say well, Hemingway used and Cobain used and all these, they used and they drank or whatever. And it doesn't really matter because you're all in the gutter at the end of the day, right? And the Punisher to me seems like a guy who can't quit the habit. And Daredevil's the guy in the rehab program who's trying to get him in the rehab program. Dude,
I know what this is. Don't do this.
Right, but also there's a reason why he's kicking his ass because Daredevil is fucking clear-headed.
Yeah.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And the Punisher ain't either because he's clouded not only by the hand and the priestess and
all
this beast or whatever
bullshit.
the fuck.
He's thinking about Maria because she's starting. We find out later.
Huh? I just came up with that analogy, huh?
Yeah. Look at that. But what he says at the end of the fight, he said,
"That's all. Look at that."
He grabs Daredevil, holds him by the throat, and says, "Look at me. With whatever senses you've got, oh, I am Frank. I'm looking right at, and then he says, look at me and tell me if this is a man possessed. Pretty much saying like, you can't exorcise me because I want this. And he's levitating in the air, and that's where Matt says, I'm not afraid of the beast. I'm afraid of you.
Yeah.
Because again, this is Frank, who, and I'm going to be probably completely wrong by the end of this book, but well, the way I look at this and where Frank is in this point of the story, the way I view it as when he's levitating and he's doing this stuff, he is, again, wholeheartedly believes that if he ends war, if he ends this shit with Ares, that he can finally
be at
make
peace
things
with Maria,
right,
which is bullshit,
and make things work with Maria. Exactly.
Then he's just gonna find
because look at
somebody
this
else
man.
to
He
kill.
says, "I'm not possessed. I want this.
Yeah.
I have to have this to kill Ares." Pretty much.
That fucking scene, that panel where Daredevil's like Mary, Mother of God, is like, holy shit. That's, to me, it's a real powerful moment in the story because it's the first time we're seeing somebody outside of this compound, in the regular Marvel universe, if you will.
And of course Daredevil would know because he's been there.
Right, but Daredevil's the perfect foil for this story in so many ways. So Aaron, hats off to Jason Aaron for crafting it gets better from here, bro. It's not quite
done. Come back to a flashback of Frank. Maria's like, we can go to the churches. He's like, we don't need to. I also, is this crazy city? I want you to have protection.
Oh yeah, he gives her the gun.
Then we cut to the present, and Maria is saying, I've been having the same dream every night since we went to the walk through the woods. And it makes me wonder, is she talk? And then it kind of is like, okay, where are we calling back to the beginning? Oh, is this thought? I dream that there's a devil at the door. It's the same dream. You're safe, Maria. Of course I am. I'm with you. Blah, blah, blah. She's being sweet. And she's like, the kids are not coming back. He's like, they're not. And that's probably for the best. And then she says she's starting to remember things. And we get a flash of her bloody corpse. Like, hey, remember, she's dead. She died. Yeah. Because it's not enough that you see the fucking bullet wounds in her face and her arms. And, like, it's just so... Every shot of her is crazy in that art style of how detailed and how truly torn to shreds she was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's like the art is so good because is that where she leaves? Yeah. The art is so good because every time, sorry, I fucked up. Every time they show her in that stuff
in the present
in the present day, it's very. It's almost like two artists drawing Spider-Man. Like one artist is going to always draw the exact lines on Spider-Man's outfit. Another one is going to imply them in most of the shots. You know what I mean? In most of the panels. He's not going to painstakingly, you know what I mean? It's depending on the art style. In the art style of the guy who does the present, which is, I believe, who did we say it was? Saiz, we think.
Saiz is the one, I think. Yeah. As Akita does the flashbacks, I'm pretty sure.
You can see very clearly because there's a hole in her face and one or two in her chest and her body.
There's one in her back.
Torso.
Yeah, there's holes. Yeah.
And it's not like we're not showing her naked or anything like that, but they show different shots where they're in bed together or whatever. She's looking in the mirror or whatever, and you can see these holes, and it's very prominent, especially the one in her face. It's just it's a really cool. It's a really good detail that brings home how
flawed and selfish.
I'm trying to get the right words. Yes,
because even if
Frank
he could end this war and end Ares, it's still for a selfish gain. It's still to get a second chance.
She's still dead. I mean,
and who's to say that she's gonna stay alive? Why would the Hand keep their deal?
Yeah,
why would they let him leave?
Whenever how often does a deal
so
with
the book
devil
ends on a great cliffhanger. Ares okay. This is what I think is so great about this art and the writing of this book. I want to hate this visual. I really want to fucking hate it because it's so stupid. and silly on paper.
Yeah.
But in the context of the story, I kind of fucking love it. So Ares shows up with his army, and they're all in like current, like fucking battle armor.
Yeah.
Current like bulletproof vests and shit, tactical shit, machine guns, but wearing gold, like Greek helmets. I don't want to say Spartan. Some of them look like Spartans, but you know the traditional,
it's
traditional Greek helmet.
The Roman centurion helmet with the fucking feathered top and shit.
Then there's fucking Ares, this giant douche nozzle.
He's like 10 feet tall, easily,
He's
right?
so big and stupid looking, and I love it. And he's got this big, flowing horse hair on his helmet, and he's wearing that fucking Punisher battle chest. Battle armor, and then this is where it gets real fucked up because you're like, this is so weird and stupid and awesome, and I love it. And then it shows him saying, "Oh well, we can't get into the compound. Nobody knows how to get in there. Everybody that tries dies." And then he's like, "Oh, we'll figure it out because we have members of the hand that they didn't kill earlier that they tied up like fucking, as he says, my dogs." And they just whip them and make them lead them to the compound. Lead us to the Punisher is the last words. What?
Yeah. Well, no, there's just it's a great visual because he is such a fucking douchebag.
That's what I mean.
Ares.
This is what I mean.
Okay, he's like 6 feet, 7, or he's like 8 feet
Here's
tall.
the problem with this thing.
But he's huge.
How this works is making it look cool. Is I think people are going to miss the point that these all look like fucking idiots. And I'm saying it is a contradiction.
That's why, like,
it's an oxymoron.
Right.
Because on one hand, out of, like, just looking at it out of context, it looks stupid. But in the context of the story, it makes sense. Because guess what? Ares and his apostles are fucking dorks.
Well, that's like when I was talking about the art style that shows, like, the bullet holes. Like, I wasn't trying to say, like, the bullet holes that she has are cool because they're not. I mean, they're bullet holes.
I can guarantee you there's some people that got the wrong idea about Ares.
No, I mean,
you know what I mean?
like in my lexicon, cool describes a lot of things. And like I was trying to figure out the right words to say, you know, like, okay, how do I describe that these bullet holes are really, like, they're not neat, but because they add to the story so much and the art.
That's just what, you know, it's just good. It's just really good storytelling when you can take something that sounds silly on paper, but put it around and have a character look intimidating and menacing like Ares, but also so silly because at the end of the day, why is he mad? He's mad because Frank found a new god.
You know.
He's a fucking baby.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it good. You know why? Because that's like Ares in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
The Greek gods were petty little bitches. And that's what Ares is.
Are petty little bitches. You hear me, Zeus? Fuck you, dude.
Send a lightning bolt down.
Send a lightning bolt down. Make me a powerful god.
Talking to you, Lord Zeus.
Yeah, fucking douche. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.